special broadcast this Saturday night as we bring to you the exit polls number to give you a sense that now that the people of Bihar have cast their vote, who could be forming the next government. Now, we've got two sets of exit polls lined up for you, the third one coming up shortly as well. Let me take you through the numbers for the C voter exit poll, which is projecting a bit of a lead and giving an edge to the Mahagathbandhan at about 108 to 131 seats. The NDA is projected to get 104 to 128 seats, in the LJP between 1 and 3, with the others projected to get 4 to 8. Now, if you just break it down, even within these alliances, JDU Plus, which is JDU and HAM, are projected to be as low as 39 to maybe 49. That's a massive loss for Nitish Kumar. BJP Plus, which is BJP and VIP party, are projected to get 68 to 76. That is a gain from the 2015 elections for the BJP. RJD projected to get 81 to 89. Congress 21 to 29. Not so much for LJP. Now, let's move on to the second exit poll, and this is the Chanakya exit poll, which is widely different from what C voter is projecting. Chanakya has projected 55 odd seats, plus and minus 11 seats for the BJP JDU combined. For the RJD Congress combined, they are projecting 180 seats, plus and minus 11 to that, and about 8 seats for others. That's the stark difference, a clear, smooth sail win as far as Chanakya is concerned for the Mahagathbandhan. We'll get to the third set in just a bit, but if these polls are to be believed, Tejasvi Yadav is all set to become the youngest chief minister for a state in our country at the age of 31. Let's also say good evening to Vinay Tiwari. In the studios with me, our managing editor, Vinay.
Yeah, no, quickly, just because you introduced with two, the third one is now out as well.
Yeah.
So I think before we get to the other panelists, let's just tell them what the third poll, which is the Access My India poll, which is suggesting, it's saying that I'm just telling the vote share first.
Yeah.
They're saying the NDA is going to get 39% vote share. The Mahagathbandhan is going to get 44% vote share, and remember, a 5% vote share in a multipolar election is a pretty large one. The LJP gets 7% vote share, the Democratic Secular Front gets 4% and other 6%. How does it translate into seats? Well, the NDA gets between 69 and 91 seats. That's the range that they have projected. Access My India's projection says NDA will get between 69 and 91 seats. The MGB, the Mahagathbandhan, they are saying will get between 139 and 161 seats. So this is the second poll now that is projecting a clear victory for the MGB. And of course, the LJP, they believe, will get between 3 and 5 seats. So outside of Chanakya, which gave an outlier poll and gave a figure of 180 to the MGB, Access is now the second poll that is giving a clear edge to the Mahagathbandhan by saying it will be between 139 and 161 seats.
Okay, so that's the second poll that's giving a clear win, and we're going to put that breakup as well on the screens right now. Many questions in my mind about what seems to have worked, what hasn't worked, if these exit polls are to be believed. Let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining us. It's a power-packed panel. Good evening to Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist with us this evening. Neelanjan Sircar, assistant professor of political science at Ashoka University. Thank you for joining us. Let's also say good evening to Dr. Ami Yagnik, Member of Parliament for the Rajya Sabha of the Congress Party, Sudhanshu Mittal, spokesperson for the BJP, Arvind Nisaad, spokesperson for the Janata Dal United, also joining us this evening. Neerja Chaudhary, first to you. To your mind, do you feel that the polls that are predicting a clear win for the Mahagathbandhan probably have it closer to the reality than C voter, which is putting them right on the dot?
Well, the poll of polls is certainly giving a very clear majority to the Mahagathbandhan. And if we are to go by the crowds and the enthusiasm of the crowds at Tejasvi Yadav's meetings, then that was an indication coming. Added to it, the economic distress that people have been facing, joblessness as an issue, having caught the imagination of the young voter. Yes, I would say if I had to today put my money on either side, I would put it on Mahagathbandhan. And the irony of it is that in the initial months, some months ago, it was Tejasvi Yadav who wanted the postponement of elections, because of COVID.
Yes.
So this is politics in India for you.
Yes, in fact, we were just earlier in the evening speaking about this, the fact that it was the RJD that was leading the whole campaign, asking for the elections to be delayed, to be pushed. But clearly, a few weeks down the line, it seemed to have worked for them. Maybe a delay wouldn't have. We don't know. Let's get a quick reaction in from Mr. Sudhanshu Mittal. I'm not going to ask you what you have to say about these polls. Let me simply ask you, what are your internal projections?
I think the internal projections have become really not very relevant now. Looking at the predictions which are across the board, and especially from two companies which I have dealt with personally. One is Access and the other is Chanakya. And both have a certain credibility in the past. So I would take these exit polls very seriously, and well, there is a lot of introspection if these are the results. These are what are going to be the results.
Mr. Mittal, you're surprising me today. I have not known you to, accept this. Most BJP spokesperson would have come on the show and said, well, these are just exit polls. These are your estimates. We don't know what you're talking about. So I'm very surprised with what you're saying.
I have been a cephalogist myself. I've done a huge number of, studies. And as I said, there is a certain credibility which I'm familiar with both the companies. Access has been absolutely on the dot for the last so many polls. So
correct.
Given their credibility and the fact that both Chanakya as well as Access are talking the
So
same
let me
language.
ask you then, what do you think went wrong for the NDA?
I mean, if one fact is once the results are out, then you'll really go seat by seat to really know what was the LJP factor, what all the factors which have worked. Is it JDU getting a raw deal and BJP performing better? All these combinations will come out. But just off the cuff speaking, for me, I've always seen elections are about two things. One is a mudda, एक बड़ा मुद्दा और एक बड़ा वायदा. In this case, there are two things which seem to be there. One is an anti-incumbency factor, which is a mudda, and the bada vaida of 10 lakh naukriyan. I mean, that the 10 lakh naukriyan will never be there is a story which people will hold Mr. Yadav accountable if and when he becomes the chief minister. But these are the two things around. The two things around which, yeah. Please.
I just had one counter question to that. I agree with you. Bada Vada 10 lakh. But NDA had made an even Bada Vada, 19 lakh. Why didn't they believe that?
Yeah, when an incumbent government makes a Bada Vaida, then people become skeptical because they say, you've been in power. If this is the Vaida you're making, this is the Bada Vaida, you should have executed it. And if you look at the Vaida, which is 19 lakh job opportunities, that's slightly and substantially different than saying, I will give you 10 lakh jobs. And when the first meeting of the cabinet, I will sign and there will be 10 lakh jobs which will be there. Now, well, we all understand governance. Jobs are not created in the resolutions of the cabinet. There's a due process which is undertaken to create jobs. But that's a different story. As I said, that rhetoric will be accountable on.
Okay, let me get in Dr. Ami Yagnik then. Dr. Ami Yagnik, what's the Mahagathbandhan's own internal estimate? How are you rating yourself?
Well, coming to rating, the internal assessment I would not like to describe because we are talking about a Mahagathbandhan which has taken issues that are touching the people on the ground. We talked about social justice. We have been talking about social justice, and that includes giving food to people at home, and the visuals of the migrant laborers are still fresh in the minds of the country, people in the country, and what happened to those workforce. No treatment to those workforce as far as economic solutions are concerned. Not even a good few words by the present ruling dispensation at the center. Forget about giving them some kind of an alternative to that. No sympathy, no money. And so this images brought out the stark reality the country is facing, the particular state which has gone to election is facing, that yes, there is no food, there is no work, Bihar doesn't have industry, the labor is back, there is no treatment to the labor. The chief minister was at that time the chief minister, Mr. Nitish Kumar. He had no respite for these people. And also the BJP government had no solution, and nor did the honorable prime minister give a special kind of a place or a space to the migrant workers. So social justice, I think, has now come of age in a sense that people are realizing that yes, something we need to take home. And that, I think, has been the ground reality in Bihar elections. And so when the Mahagathbandhan talked about these issues, the health issues, because COVID is still there, COVID has not gone away.
Yes, let me ask you this, Dr. Yagnik. Just like we saw for the NDA, where the focus wasn't so much on Nitish, and justifiably so, but more on Modi ji and the BJP and the central schemes, was this a conscious effort to not put the focus so much on Rahul Gandhi, maybe repeat the same debacle that you saw in Uttar Pradesh, and just the focus simply be on Tejasvi and let him carry it on?
Well, I think everyone knows, and Mahagathbandhan had already decided that Tejasvi would be the face of the Mahagathbandhan, and so that internal decision was already taken. And so to talk about these other issues at the moment, I think is out of place. From the beginning, Tejasvi has taken a lead, and because he was the face of the Mahagathbandhan, he has run here and there, and the issues that the Mahagathbandhan took were the ground issues. And I think it was a very strange respite. The BJP spokesperson is actually just accepting the polls instead of saying anything that yes, we would do this, we have done this. Nothing of that sort is coming. I am very surprised and really I mean, it's quite strange that they are right away going for introspection and talking about looking at what has happened. So Mahagathbandhan's face was already accepted by the Mahagathbandhan parties that Tejasvi would be the face. So there is no need to have any discussion on that.
Okay, I have two more panelists who are yet to make their opening remarks, but 30 seconds to Sudhanshu Mittal to just respond to that. And then we'll go across to JDU and then Neelanjan.
First, being introspective, I think is good politics. I mean, if public opinion in terms of a mandate is not to be respected, I don't think that's a virtue. Secondly, much is said about the migrant workers and the visuals which were seen. May I remind that the visuals which were seen largely came from Maharashtra, a state ruled by the Congress. Need I say more? As far as what the central government did, food for everybody for 3 months, then 6 months, then 9 months. I mean, a lot of things. But I don't want to rake up those issues today, because if there is a mandate where people have thought otherwise, I think what would be in the best interest of any political party is to take the lesson which people seem to be giving in this case.
Okay, I'm still a little surprised, but like Sudhanshu Mittal said, it's good to introspect and good to accept that you need to introspect basis what the people are saying. Congress party is usually the one that tells us we need to go back and introspect, and we often find that they haven't much, but this time they're on the other side. So this conversation was very interesting for me. But let me ask Arvind Nisaad. Arvind Nisaad ji, sabse bada introspection to the biggest introspection will have to be done maybe by Nitish Kumar. अरविंद निषाद जी, सबसे बड़ा इंट्रोस्पेक्शन, सबसे बड़ा तो ये इलेक्शन के बाद जो सोच विचार है वो नीतीश कुमार को करना पड़ेगा.
क्यों, किस आधार पे, क्या आधार है, सोच विचार करने का क्या आधार है, किस आधार पर यह प्रश्न सामने आ रहा है, यह इसके बाद हम इस प्रश्न का उत्तर देंगे।
Well, there is the political arrogance that we know. ये आधार आप अगर हमारे पोल प्रोजेक्शंस नहीं मानना चाहते, 3 अलग अलग हैं, पर आपके खुद की जो पार्टी अलायंस में है, बीजेपी के प्रवक्ता यहाँ बैठे हैं और वो ही कह रहे हैं।
अब कौन क्या बोल रहा है मुझे इस पर नहीं जाना है। ये एग्जिट पोल कोई अंतिम एग्जिट पोल नहीं है, ये कोई 1000 व्यक्तियों पर किया गया एग्जिट पोल, इसको मैं नहीं मानता हूं।
चलिए आप बताइए, आप
नहीं है
तो आपके क्या आंकड़े हैं, आपका इंटरनल प्रोजेक्शन क्या है?
मैं बता रहा हूं 10 तारीख को जब मतों की गणना होगी और 10 तारीख जब बिहार के लोगों ने विकसित बिहार के सपना लेकर के श्री नीतीश कुमार और देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जिन्होंने मताधिकार किया, एक बिगड़ा हुआ बिहार, खस्ताहाल बिहार को हम लोगों ने प्रगतिशील बिहार बनाया। अब उसको विकसित राज्य बनाने की दिशा में बहुत तेजी से हम लोग आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। तो मैं समझता हूं कि इन 15 वर्षों में समाज के जिन वर्गों के लिए, समाज के कमजोर वर्ग, समाज के नौजवान वर्ग, जिनको 15 वर्षों में 6,18,000 नौकरियां दी गई, आज सब्जबाग दिखाया जा रहा है। उस सब्जबाग के आधार पर कोई ये नहीं कह सकता है कि पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार बनने जा रही है किसी एक गठबंधन की।
अरविंद निषाद जी, मैं आपको एक बात बोल दूं, आप नहीं मानना चाहते हैं ये प्रोजेक्शंस को तो मत मानिए, पर इतना ज्यादा किसी भ्रम में रहना भी बिल्कुल सही नहीं है कि आपको जो आप कह रहे हैं वो तो बहुत दूर का रियलिटी लग रहा है। हर एक पोल प्रोजेक्शन में ये बात साफ आ रही है कि जेडीयू नंबर 3 पर पहुंच चुकी है। अब वो अपने खुद के अलायंस में बड़ा भाई नहीं रहा, वो बीजेपी से कम सीटें पे जीतने वाला है। बट लेट मी ब्रिंग इन नीलंजन सरकार फॉर अ क्विक मिनट एंड गेट हिज व्यू एज वेल। नीलंजन, suffice to say we've put across 3 poll projections.
मुझे 10 सेकंड और दीजिए। नहीं, मुझे 10 सेकंड।
अच्छा, 10 सेकंड
और दीजिए मुझे, मात्र 10 सेकंड। हाँ ठीक है, तब तो आपके वर्डिक्ट के अनुसार अगर हम जेडीयू 3 नंबर पे चली गई है, तब तो मतों की गिनती करना छोड़ देना चाहिए भारत निर्वाचन आयोग को। आज जो तमाम कंपनियों का एग्जिट पोल हुआ है, इस एग्जिट पोल के आधार पर किसी थर्ड पार्टी को या गठबंधन को सरकार बनाने के लिए राज्यपाल को आमंत्रित करने का सुझाव उनको देना चाहिए।
अच्छा ठीक है, नहीं, ये काउंटिंग रोकने वाला जो है ना, नहीं, ये काउंटिंग रोकने वाला जो है ये अमेरिका में ही ठीक है। डोनाल्ड ट्रंप को बोलने दीजिए, हमारे देश में डेमोक्रेसी में सबके वोट काउंट होंगे।
बहुत आत्मविश्वास के साथ।
मेरा कोई आत्मविश्वास नहीं है, मैंने नंबर जो 3 अलग अलग एजेंसी ने निकाले वो डाले हैं, मैं खुद का कोई दावा यहाँ नहीं कर रही हूँ अरविंद जी, बाकी तो हम 10 तारीख को बात करेंगे ही। बट नीलांजन सरकार, लेट मी ब्रिंग यू इन योर ओन सेंस। ओके अरविंद जी, मैं आती हूँ आपके पास वापस।
चाणक्य टुडे सर्विस का 2015 में चाणक्य टुडे सर्विस का 2015 में 155 का एनडीए के पक्ष में था, तत्कालीन एनडीए, जिसमें बीजेपी, जिसमें एलजेपी, जिसमें हम पार्टी थी।
ठीक है, आप
देखिए ऐसा नहीं है।
मैं समझ गई। अरविंद निषाद, आई विल कम बैक टू यू। आप बने रहिए मेरे साथ, दूसरों को भी थोड़ा सा मौका मिलना चाहिए। नीलांजन सरकार ने अभी अपने ओपनिंग कमेंट्स ही नहीं बोले। नीलांजन, यू हर्ड एवरीबody आउट, लेट्स हियर योर ओपनिंग कमेंट्स। I think your mic is muted, Neelanjan. You'll have to unmute yourself. Mr. Sircar, we can't hear you. I'm not too sure if your mic is muted.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
I think, the storyline was already set here, right? That had the NDA done well, it was going to be because of Nitish, it was going to be because of Modi. And had the NDA done poorly, it was going to be because of Nitish Kumar, right? That is sort of what we've been hearing from the very beginning. And we know that that's the kind of storyline that we are sort of pursuing now. I think, when we look at the election, at least the exit polls right now, it's in line with what we've seen in other states. The BJP and the NDA have done very well in the national elections, and a 15 percentage point plus decrease in the vote share for the NDA when it comes to the state elections. And I think that we need to sort of understand that part of the Modi phenomenon is that there's a centralization of credit and the state chief ministers are really bearing the brunt. So while you're able to do well in a national election, you're really paying the price in state elections, right? So other big deliverers like Shivraj, Raman Singh, they've also really not been able to win elections in the sort of Modi period. One just final point that I would make, and this is just a data point. Since 2014, we know that Nitish actually has been the electoral weak link. So in 2015, Nitish Kumar, in the seats that he contested, the JDU got 3 to 4 percentage points less. In 2019, despite the Modi magic, about 4 to 5 percentage points less per seat the JDU did as compared to the BJP. So we know that there has been this problem with Nitish already, and I think it's now starting to show its teeth.
That's a very interesting analysis. Vinay, you have something to add to that?
No, I mean, look, I think Sudhanshu will probably bear me out on this. I think BJP's made they underestimated a few things and they made 3 strategic mistakes. I'm convinced that if the BJP had actually contested the elections alone, they would have done better than what they're doing right now, because I think they underestimated the resentment that people had against Nitish. I think they underestimated the emotional trauma that people in Bihar went through because of 2 reasons, not just because there was reverse migration and they had to really go through a deep distress, but also because they thought that Nitish had not made any effort to even perceptually appear to be with them. He started off by saying, "Jahan hai, wahi rahiye," on the grounds ki I am following the rules, even though he should have taken a key out of Yogi Adityanath, who, despite the ICMR's guidelines, went ahead and got students back and did everything and perceptually looked like somebody who's helping his people.
Correct.
Politics is a lot about perception. You really can't just do things without worrying about that. That is part 2, especially when you have a state going to elections. And I think the third big mistake they possibly could have done is, I think there was some amount of confusion on the ground over this curious LJP conundrum, as we've been calling it all through, where he loves one side and hates the other, and that confuses the people down below, because I think the cadre was also to some extent confused, and that, honestly, I think has collectively come home to possibly lose. Remember, all through the crisis, Nitish was possibly the only mainline state chief minister who did not even address his state. Every large state chief minister spoke to his citizens, addressed the state multiple times and maintained a visible profile. Even in Jharkhand, Hemant Soren maintained a public profile, Yogi Adityanath maintained a public profile, and several other state leaders did. Shivraj Singh Chauhan did a very public profile during the lockdown. Nitish Kumar didn't. And this reclusive tendency that he had for the last, maybe I would say over a year now, has cost even the BJP dearly, because I think they should have seen that coming, that he was not behaving the way a chief minister should have behaved in a crisis situation.
Neerja Chaudhary, your view on what Vinay is pitching here, and then we'll bring in others as well. Should the BJP have gone alone, or maybe not given as many seats to the JDU?
I think that was more difficult, not give large number of seats to the JDU. They were bargaining hard. They were threatening that they may not stay with the alliance. And the BJP, when it's gone alone, has not done well so far. So they shied away from this. It was contemplated. Sudhanshuji will tell us more, that there was a time when Amit Shah had thought about this possibility many months ago. But I would say that it is because the BJP had a sense that there was anger against Nitish Kumar that they probably fielded Chirag Paswan to go it alone, because Chirag Paswan's whole aim was to help the BJP cut Nitish Kumar's votes, cut into Nitish Kumar's votes, bring down the tally of JDU so that the BJP was in a position to lead the government if the alliance had the numbers, and in any case deflect the anger from the alliance to Nitish Kumar. It was very skillfully done, I think. Sudhanshuji is, disagreeing with me, but there is no other reason why Chirag Paswan should say, मेरे दिल खोल के देखिए तो वहाँ मोदी जी हैं, जहाँ हमारे लोग नहीं खड़े हो रहे हैं. You vote for the BJP very clearly. I am anti-Nitish. He is the butt of everybody's anger, but we are for BJP. Now, this kind of separation really doesn't always work, much as you would like it to work. And
Yes.
it'll be interesting to see, what the final tallies turn out of JDU versus BJP.
Sudhanshu Mittal wants to respond to that.
No. Nirjaji, I think it's completely off the mark. Please understand that electorally, I mean, there are pundits who are sitting here. It is never that in the alliance, one section of the alliance will do better, the other will not. Marginal differences are there, but when it is a vote, the vote goes for the alliance equitably. So in this election also, you will see that when Mahagathbandhan will win, then you'll have Congress as well as left winning also on the seats they are winning. They are contesting. And if we are losing, then BJP will also be losing, JDU will also be losing. So knowing this...
Well, that's what it's looking like now, but...
Just one second. Knowing this fact about how voting takes place in favor or against an alliance, do you think somebody will damage his own prospects? BJP will damage its own prospects by propping up a Chirag Paswan to damage the alliance itself? No, it doesn't happen. This is a figment of your imagination.
Vinay?
I mean, a lot of wishful thinking. People will like that the alliances should break.
Well, Sudhanshu Mittal, let me say, I don't think it's entirely anybody's imagination purely because there are now multiple points of evidence that suggest that on ground there was a clear support from the BJP and even the RSS cadre to the LJP. Vinay?
No. The only point
You just made a point. One point can I answer? You just made a point that BJP would have done better if it had contested alone. This is what the point you... Look, you have to understand that we as a political party are deeply committed to Gadbandhan politics, coalition politics. Isolation, political isolation, because you can win, so leave others, is not a theory or not an ethos of BJP. And
You have only ended up leaving others, or others have ended up leaving you post-elections.
Well, people choose to leave is different, but as BJP, we have always stood by our allies, and that's, I think I'm proud of that.
Okay, quick comment from Vinay, and then I want to move to the national picture as well.
Only small difference of opinion I had with Sudhanshu was only this, that not always does transferability of vote happen between two alliance partners. In Uttar Pradesh, Samajwadi votes transferability to Congress and Congress's votes transferability to Samajwadi were very different. It didn't happen that way.
It didn't.
So in this case also, while I'm very sure that it's quite possible that the JDU supporters were willing to transfer their votes to BJP, the BJP supporters were certainly not willing to transfer their vote to JDU.
Yeah.
And that's possibly what has cost them dear. So when I said going alone, I didn't mean that you would have won the election. I'm only saying that the transferability was not happening in equal sense because there was greater anger against Nitish. That's the only limited point I'm making.
Nilanjan, do you want to add to that?
Results come out and then we will analyze this, because I'm sure that's not going to be the reality.
No, I think that's what we've seen in the last two elections is that people have transferred less to the JDU. And we saw it in 2019, we saw it in 2015. I would be very surprised if we didn't see it in this election as well. That's all I would say.
Okay, let me move on to a slightly bigger picture, or at least start with if these projections are to be believed and they come true on 10th, irrespective of what Mr. Arvind Nisaad says, and you see what happened in Maharashtra, and we were talking about this earlier in the day as well. Neerja Chaudhary, does it look like BJP has now gotten it wrong twice in Maharashtra, also going with a partner that kind of, dented their own chances, and now there are, they struggled there with the Shiv Sena. That alliance then broke, and something similar now happening in Bihar.
Yeah, I think, it's a very interesting phenomenon we are seeing in the country. Mr. Narendra Modi's popularity remains intact. He is seen as the national leader. So whenever there's a general election, people vote for him, want him. But when it comes to state governments, it's a very different ball game. Then they don't want to necessarily vote for the BJP unless the BJP is done well. Like Shivraj Chauhan, it was a very close call. Not so with Raman Singh or Vasudhara Raje Scindia, because people saw Shivraj Chauhan in a different light. even though Kamal Nath formed the government. But for Modi to, fill this gap of the state government's losses is not happening except in Uttar Pradesh. And I think this is a dichotomy that where the parties in the states have a very clear alternative, and Tejasvi Yadav is a 31-year-old, no experience.
Yes.
And he himself was very surprised initially when people started to throng to his meetings. But he's had a clever strategy, that apart. But where there's a clear alternative, people who are restive, particularly with economic distress that they face. And this is the national implication we are going to see of Bihar. If Bihar, the migrants and others feel joblessness is the main issue, the economic hardship is the main issue, are other states going to be insulated from this phenomenon?
I think it's surprising.
Nationally, the opposition parties do not have a clear alternative.
Yeah.
They don't, and that's a fact.
Okay, that's the point I want to take across to Ami Yagnik, but I just wanted to add to what Neerja Chaudhary was saying, because it seems that even Tejasvi was caught by surprise. He too took his own time to get into this. Even his Kamai, Dawai, Sichai slogan had one additional word every few days. It's as if he was getting more and more confident about the kind of response he was getting from, say, a few months ago to where it ended finally for him, set to become the youngest chief minister of a state. But Ami Yagnik, to the point that our experts are also making here, that Modi ji's support base and popularity stays intact. But when it comes to state level, maybe it's not enough. At a national level, it still looks unbeatable.
Well, that we can say only time will tell, in a sense, because the youth showed kind of reposed confidence in what the Mahagathbandhan said for the jobs the Mahagathbandhan promised. And it did not kind of seem to them that this is kind of a 2 crores jumla, because that never translated into action on the ground. So to say right now, yes, Modi ji is our honorable prime minister. He is still enjoying that popularity. But to say that in the states he doesn't, then why should it not be in the states? Because he's still the BJP's head. He campaigns for the BJP as no prime minister has done. He does rallies after rallies in every state, in every election. So if his popularity is so much, then why does it not translate into action even at the state level? Because it can't be separated like the state.
But a similar thing, Ami Yagnik, is what the Congress is witnessing. Rahul Gandhi doesn't manage to pull in any crowds, but a Captain Amrinder or a Kamal Nath do manage to do that.
Well, we continuously bring Rahul Gandhi into the picture. Today, Rahul Gandhi, of course, is not the president as far as the Congress party is concerned. And the opposition is not only the Congress party. There are a number of other parties. But continuously talking about that the opposition has not been able to do this. Well, if you take the BJP alone, in how many states is BJP on its own if there is such a huge mandate of popularity for the Honorable Prime Minister? Why there are alliances in other states? So let's not get into this detailed kind of dissection, but the fact remains that the Honorable Prime Minister did campaign in Bihar along with its allies, and there was no word like anti-incumbency at that time. Today I'm hearing it for the first time. If it was a Vikassheel Bihar for 15 years, of course, with the last several years with the Honorable Prime Minister's alliance, then where was the Vikas? You see Niti Aayog's report on healthcare system, you see the joblessness, you see the helplessness of the people. So these issues have weighed at the ground, and the Mahagathbandhan, of course, has gone ahead with all these issues. So right now, bringing the popularity of the Honorable Prime Minister, I think this is not the time that we can weigh that, because it has not worked in Bihar.
I must say that this is my second time that I've been a little surprised. Sudhanshu, much like Virender Sehwag was swashbuckling in his first innings and then mellowed down in the second half of his career, today I'm seeing a much mellower Sudhanshu. I'm very surprised that I'm hearing a senior Congress spokesperson actually admitting and saying that Congress is not the only opposition party. There are others also as well. It's also a mellow statement.
No, one second. There are other opposition parties in several states, and all of them are in the parliament, and all of them are at the center. So let's not.
No. I was only saying because Congress always and still believes that it's a national party. That's all. That's the only reason I'm mentioning that. Most other opposition parties are regional parties. You really don't have a national opposition party.
10 years. And you know where we have gone as far as economic slowdown is concerned. We are not talking about that when we are talking about the popularity of the Honorable Prime Minister. We are not talking, nobody is asking from where will you get 2 crore jobs. Nobody has asked him that question.
No, we do. Of course we do. I mean, the NDA's, manifesto also promised 19 lakhs.
Nobody has asked him till date.
Which is as much of a pipe dream as it is of 10 lakhs. I mean, it's not possible. I mean, we all know it's not easy. Government jobs are not easy to fill in.
Well, we ask the government and the BJP that question quite often, Ami Yagnik. Sudhanshu Mittal will testify to that, the number of times he's been at the receiving end of our wrath for the jobs crisis in this country. But let me also bring in Arvind Nisaad. Arvind Nisaad ji, जो यहाँ पैनल डिस्कशन में ही अगर आप सबको सुन लें तो एक ये एग्रीमेंट है कि मोदी जी की पॉपुलैरिटी इंटैक्ट है, प्रॉब्लम जो आ रही है एनडीए को वो स्टेट लेवल पे स्टेट लीडरशिप में आ रही है. योर रिस्पॉन्स टू दैट?
देखिए, पूरे देश में बिहार का जो ग्रोथ रेट है वो डबल डिजिट में है, 11.3 है. ये देश के किसी दूसरे राज्य में ये संख्या को अचीव नहीं किया है. आप देखिए कि पूरे देश भर में नीतीश कुमार जी ने जो रोड मैप दिया, 15 वर्षों में बिगड़ा हुआ बिहार, कैसे मुख्यमंत्री नीतीश कुमार ने इस बिहार को सजाया संवारा और विकसित बिहार बनाने का जो लक्ष्य रखा है, उस लक्ष्य को 2020 से 25 के हम अपने कार्यकाल में इसको हम सफलतापूर्वक लाएंगे. ये टीवी चैनल के डिबेट में यह मुद्दा जरूर आ सकता है कि स्टेट लीडरशिप के ऊपर एंटी इनकम्बेंसी हावी रहा और इनके नकारात्मकता के कारण यहाँ एनडीए की हार होता दिख रहा है, लेकिन मैं ऐसा नहीं मानता हूं. ये एग्जिट पोल कुछ हजार लोगों पर किया गया एग्जिट पोल है, जहां करोड़ों की संख्या में मतदाता हो, करोड़ों की संख्या में विभिन्न जाति, धर्म, मजहब, समुदाय के लोग हो. नीरजा चौधरी जी देश के वरिष्ठ पत्रकार हैं, कई बार इनका बिहार विजिट हो चुका है, कई बिहार के चुनाव को इन्होंने कवर किया है. उनको बिहार के संदर्भ में अच्छी जानकारी है, अच्छी समझ है, ये चीजों को, तथ्यों को समझती है. फिर भी लोग पता नहीं किस आधार पर लोग तरह तरह की बातें कर रहे हैं, लेकिन व्यक्तिगत तौर पर मैं आपको बता रहा हूं कि हमने पार्टी के उम्मीदवार और एनडीए के उम्मीदवार के पक्ष में बिहार के विभिन्न विधानसभा क्षेत्रों में दौरा किया. उस आधार पर वहां जो हमें फीडबैक मिला, उस सूचना और फीडबैक के आधार पर हम आज भी कहेंगे कि 10 तारीख को जब मतों की गिनती होगी, उस दिन बिहार की जनता जो अपना जनादेश देगी वह सिरोधार्य होगा, वह मान्य होगा. ये हजार लोगों
तो ये आप मुझे समझाएं फिर
भी एग्जिट पोल को,
तो मुझे ये समझाएं फिर भाजपा को ही क्यों नहीं भरोसा जो आप कह रहे हैं उस पे?
मैं पहले ही मैंने कहा कि कौन क्या बोलता है मुझे इसका लेना देना नहीं है. श्री नीतीश कुमार जी और देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के काम और नाम के आधार पर हम जनता के बीच गए थे. कौन क्या बोलता है मुझे इसमें कुछ नहीं बोलना है.
चलिए अरविंद निसाद जी, एक फिर आप प्रॉमिस कीजिए, मुझे वादा कीजिए कि 10 तारीख को आप आएंगे वापस मिरर नाउ पे, और जब नंबर्स क्लियर हो जाएंगे तो फिर हम इस बात पे वापस एक बार चर्चा करेंगे. आपका दावा मैंने यहाँ रिकॉर्ड कर लिया है, और उस दिन अगर सुधांशु मित्तल फ्री हुए तो उनको भी बुला लिया जाएगा.
एकदम आप एकदम मेरा दावा को रिकॉर्ड कीजिए और मैं आपको 10 तारीख के लिए अपना समय देता हूं, और आप अपनी सुविधा के अनुसार और मेरी भी सुविधा का ख्याल रखते हुए 10 तारीख को मैं वचन देता हूं कि
ठीक है,
आपके साथ मैं ऊपर
ये
और
तय हुआ।
नीरज जी के उस दिन जरूर आप रखिए। मैं इनका आदर सम्मान करता हूं। इनको आप जरूर रखिए। बिहार की सामाजिक परिस्थितियों को बखूबी ये समझती है, लेकिन चूंकि बदली हुई परिस्थितियों में इनको अपनी बात रखना पड़ता है, ये समझ से परे है। मैं इसको नहीं समझ पाता हूं।
ओके, सुधांशु मित्तल भी कुछ कहना चाह रहे हैं। सुधांशु मित्तल,
देखिए, there is one caveat we must all understand. On television, when we are sitting here, there is a set of data which is presented. Now, what is being sought to be done is that if this data is true, then what are the reasons? I mean, if the data becomes false, then it becomes false. We are assuming that the data, and especially given the credibility of a company like Axis, which has been phenomenally right, on that assumption, we are debating it. Hearts and hearts, would I ever want that BJP should not be victorious on 10th? I mean, can any BJP leader or Janta JDU leader want that these results should be true? None of us will want them to be true. But it's not an issue of me wanting or you wanting. The issue is, if these results are what are being projected, then what is it? So that is the debate. So saying why is your ally accepting it and why JDU is not accepting it? No, I'm not accepting it. I'm saying 10th will be the date when the results will be out.
okay.
But assuming that this is what is going to be on the 10th, then these are the factors. This is how I should be reacting to it. That is what it is. Now, one thing I would like to see: state election is a state election is a state election. Central election is a central election is a central election. We have seen so often that 6 months before or 4 months before, people vote differently in a state election. And when it comes to center, they vote differently. We have seen that within on the same day, where a state assembly is gone for the polls along with the national election, people have voted differently. So there is a distinction which is always drawn between a state election and a national election. State, since there is a party in the state which is in power, there's a coalition in the state which is in power, naturally, the people's reaction in that state would be in terms of the performance they assess of that coalition,
Okay.
or the party, or the chief minister.
So
That's
let
the
me
reality.
pick up the point that you're making right now and take it across to Neelanjan from a point of view of, should that become a worrying concern, Neelanjan Sircar, even for the BJP, keeping in mind the last few elections, the results that we saw and what's coming up next. The absence of a strong BJP face in a state election has not worked very well for them. Would that be a problem in West Bengal to begin with?
I think it is. Let me just sort of go into a little bit of sort of political science to sort of think a little bit about what's happening. You know, if you were a voter, 5 years ago when I was in Bihar, and somebody said, I got a pension, I got this benefit, they would say it was because of Nitish. Today, if you go to a voter, an NDA voter will say, I got it because of Modi. Shivraj, Raman Singh, all of these guys face the same problem. When your political appeal is based on that kind of welfare benefit, and the person is center is political attribution for it, then all of a sudden your political appeal disappears. And
we seem to have lost that feed with Neelanjan Sircar. We're just going to try and fix that line with him. He hadn't finished his point. Okay, Neelanjan, I think you're back with us. Go ahead, please. We lost the connection.
okay. So can you hear me?
Yes.
So
Okay, we're just going to fix that line with Neelanjan Sircar and go back to him in just a bit. The conversation that I want to have right now is what should be the BJP's takeaway, and if it needs any change in strategy further going into other set of state elections. They've already won the general election. They are safe and settled as far as centre is concerned. But what are the lessons for next set of state elections? So, Sudanshu Mittal, you can answer that by the time we get Neelanjan back.
You see, I will disagree with Neelanjan about West Bengal because there the mandate would be the 10-year rule of TMC vis-a-vis the hopes and aspirations which they would be looking into BJP, which is challenging TMC. But BJP, the first election critical to us is also Assam. You see, that is a state which we had won for the first time last time. And there we are the government. We have a popular chief minister. That is a state which, very interestingly, will be a challenge to the so-called secularists, because Congress is likely to tie up with a party called AUDF, which is the Muslim fundamentalist party of Assam. Now, how a so-called secularist party will tie up with them, let us see. But BJP has to protect its turf in Assam, and we have to take vote on our agenda, on our performance, on our delivery, and on our politics. When it comes to West Bengal, the criticality of assessment would be the failure of Mamata. 10 years of rule, there is anarchy, there is zero development, there is communal politics. So these are the issues which will be there. So as far as BJP is concerned, the takeaway from any loss is we need to perform better. If there is one, that is a takeaway. But there is nothing specific in terms of, hey, we went wrong here in Bihar, so we need to improve on this particular aspect in West Bengal. No,
Okay, but Vinay, but do you disagree that perhaps the lack of a strong face in the state does become a disadvantage?
Look, BJP, since 2014, BJP has done 3 experiments. And I think the trouble is that all the 3 experiments or practices have had mixed results. Experiment number 1, established state leaders who enjoy certain level of popularity and also have delivered performance like Raman Singh or Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who were backed by the center to the hilt, ended up losing. Then you had an example in Maharashtra, for instance, where Devendra Fadnavis was an outsider in the first innings, but then was a good performer. There was no question about that he was able to emerge as a state level leader, and yet, for whatever reason, did not end up winning. And then they had a third example where they went into elections with no face projection, and a leader was para-dropped pretty much, like it happened in Haryana or it happened in Jharkhand, where Raghubar Das and Khattar Sahab were virtual outsiders. They were never projected as chief minister faces, but they then ended up becoming one. Now, in all 3, they've had a mixed result. Like, for instance, in Haryana, Khattar Sahab barely made it. In Jharkhand, Raghubar Das lost the election. In Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan lost the election. Of course, now he's back because he's been able to get some MLAs on his side. In Chhattisgarh, a popular leader like Raman Singh also lost.
Yeah.
So there's been a bit of a mixed bag. My personal argument would be that I think BJP possibly works best when they have a good state level leader who's backed obviously by the intact popularity of Mr. Narendra Modi, because he brings the plus factor to it. But I think the people are looking for both when they take a decision on who they vote for.
Okay, I think we have the line back with Neelanjan. Let's see if we can go across to him.
No. So I absolutely agree with the last comment that I heard. That's why you see Yogi Adityanath is a very different character than many of these other chief ministers that we've seen.
Yeah.
I think the average voter who is looking to vote for the BJP, if they look at their state level leader and see nothing inspiring, they're likely assessing the BJP positively based on what Modi is doing. And we actually saw that even in the polling data that we have for Bihar. And that causes problems for the state level leader that is associated with the BJP. So that's why I think you're starting to see this challenge from many of the state leaders who don't have some independent calling card beyond sort of delivering benefits for the BJP. I would just say, just historically, this is also something we saw in the 1970s with Congress and Indira Gandhi. Once you have centralization and branding of social schemes with the prime minister, often the state units do suffer, right? And so this is a tension that I think the BJP will likely have to resolve if it is to do better in a number of state elections going forward.
All right. On that note, I am completely out of time, but I'm going to thank all of our panelists. It's been a great conversation, great insights from our experts, and also a very enlightening conversation with our political representatives. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here on the Poll of Polls special broadcast. We will all meet again on 10th when the actual results come out. Just to very quickly tell you, of the 2 exit polls right now are giving a clear win to the Mahagathbandhan. The third exit poll gives the lead and the edge to them. Is that what's going to happen on the 10th of November? We will have to wait and watch. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.